Welcome to a special edition of Celebrate You Live. I am Luana Bradford, co-founder of Celebrate You, embracing her wellness with co-founder Barbara Beckley in the house. How's it going, Barbara?
Going really well. Always excited to be on on the show with the wonderful Luana Queen.
Barbara, I cannot believe how fast time is going. And we are already 1 year since last year's focus on hashtag break the bias. And now it's all about hashtag embrace equity. So the symbol is, and you're going to see posted on social media, women hugging themselves because we're saying equity is important. Embracing equity is important. And some of you may be thinking, well, equity, equality, it's all the same thing. It's not. Equality means everyone has the same resources. Equity means everyone has the same resources to meet their needs. So an example, very simple example would be everyone needs shoes. So equality means I've provided everyone shoes. Equity means I provide everyone shoes that fit their feet. The difference. And I'm excited because we have a very special guest who has been on our stage many, many times. She is she's an amazing woman. She's an award-winning author, speaker, international influencer. She is a media personality in her own right. She is a technology wizard. It is none other than Dr. Derashay Zorn in the house. Welcome, Dr. Derashay.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here today, and I'm so excited to have you guys with me and just to be hanging out with the family another day.
Yes. Well, Dr. Derashay, your accolades are quite extensive. And one of the things that I want the audience to know, those of you that are listening from around the world, is you have a heart and a passion for not only ministry, the gospel, but taking that uncovered purpose in a woman's life and showing her how she can elevate and, as you said, increase her impact, influence, and income. And you are doing something quite amazing. You have a vision to build technology hubs. I'm going to call it like the incubator in Africa. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So one of my visions, a part of my vision is to definitely build technology incubators it's actually throughout the world, but we're going to start in Africa. And what these technology incubators is going to do, it's going to bridge the gap in the lives of individuals so that they can have access to technology and come into a technical space and begin to utilize it to get the training and development that they need and to begin to tap into a global market so that they can begin to break past barriers, poverty barriers and other barriers within their countries so that they can meet their needs. Some of these technology and incubators are going to be specifically called I Am Her International Woman and Young Girl Technology Centers. And so I'm absolutely excited about it because we're going to be able to train people in the space of technology while learning ministry as well as business skills and tool sets through the use of technology. So I'm excited about that and being able to bring them the tools, computers, having a media room in there, having that internet cafe there as well, in addition to that technology training center that will be there for them so that they can get equipped from leaders around the world.
Can I get the name of that, your incubators again? I Am Her International Technology.
Yes, technology incubators. Now that's going to be for some of those. All of those won't be specifically labeled for women and young girls, but there are going to be some that's going to be labeled specifically for women and young girls. And the very first one that we're doing in Kenya is just going to be the technology incubator, but it's all going to do the same thing. Some of them just going to be specifically tagged for young girls and women.
Well, I totally salute and applaud you for the work that you're doing. There's a lot of efforting that needs to be done. As we know, the harvest is plentiful, right? But the laborers are few, and we need individuals not only working here within the U.S., but you're reaching across the divide and going into other nations. And like you said, your first stop is helping to equip and empower women in Africa. So that is so amazing. One of the things I want to ask you before I turn this over to Barbara is who or what inspired you to begin a career in technology?
So I wish I could say that there was a who, but during my coming up or upbringing, there wasn't any who's available for me to be able to even look to even have that desire. So I'm going to go more of the what because it was the what, right? That sparked a passion for technology in my life, which was something I really discovered and at a much older age. I just remember as a young girl when I seen the computer and I seen what it do and I looked and I found out that it solved solutions, right? It brought solutions to problems, and that intrigued me. That intrigued me so much that I told my grandmother I want to be a computer programmer, analyst, technician. Didn't know what it was, didn't know what all that it entailed. I just know I was in elementary school, and I'm saying this is what I want to be. And I remember I wanted her to buy us a computer so bad. However, because of our economical status or income, we wasn't able to afford one. And so one of the things that really, really, I believe that drew me to technology is because it solved problems. And looking at my background and where I came from, and we definitely needed solutions for our situations and circumstances. And so I think it was more of finding something that dealt with bringing forth solutions and being able to utilize that on how to bring forth affordable opportunities and solutions within my own challenges, right? So that I can move beyond the barriers that was keeping us in things such as poverty and so forth.
Wow, that's amazing. And like you said, there wasn't a who, but there's a what. And very often our lived experiences gives birth to the talents that are due to unfold at their appointed time. And I love what you said. You were leaning into a lane of solutions. And that's what you do every day on your platform, in your one-on-one coaching and consulting, is helping individuals uncover those solutions to elevate them to where they want to be. And I want to just share, and I found these to be very interesting stats, Dr. Derashay, that of all the technology spaces, positions that are out there, women only occupy 13%. 13. We're in 2023. 13%. That was shocking to me. I knew the numbers were low. I didn't know they were that low. And I said, well, let's just pick a company that everyone knows, Facebook. Of all their tech positions, how many of them are occupied by men? 75%.
I'm sure.
75%. Barbara, turn it over to you.
Wow. So it's interesting when you get those statistics in front of you, it just wows you. So Mrs. Derashay, I want to ask you a question regarding what do you perceive to be the greatest barrier? And that happens in all areas facing women in the technology today.
I think some of the things that I think or I perceive that is the greatest barrier is that we lack mentorship. We lack female role models in the field. We lack, as young girls, seeing our faces in those specific areas, whether we are where they're coming up or showing up for career day, or seeing them in a book that we may be reading, or a book that may be in our library, or even a book that's in the educational tools, the books that we use to study, for as well. I think that those are some pieces that are missing. in addition to, of course, the biases that happens in the workplace, as well as, of course, I know LaWanda mentioned earlier, when it comes to the discrepancy, when it comes to the pay as well. But I think those are a few components that hinder women even looking at that field of opportunity, so that, as a viable option, right, for them to be successful, because you're going to also look at growth opportunity. Can I really get into this field and maximize my potential, or would it be hindered because it's so male dominated and it is not really inclusive for us all?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. Barbara, what do you think about some of those barriers you mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you're right about the mentoring part. I love how you brought that up, that more women need to be mentored in that area, because sometimes, especially with technology, that's a big field to just try to take in and say, okay, what is all what I need to do? And I need somebody to teach me that. And then as far as looking at, okay, if I do get in this area, then I'm dealing with the fact that, like you said, it's almost men dominated, where that part plus the pay, and kind of women be like, well, why should I put all that work, all that, in there, and then still it seems like I'm not going to get to where I need to go. So I can totally understand, those barriers that you see and that you got to face with women.
Yeah, I was just thinking when you said basically we don't see ourselves, right? And that's always a challenge, whether you're a woman of color or you're in, as you mentioned, a male dominated industry, being able to identify with someone who looks like you,
Mhm.
who can understand what your lived experience is like, and help you through those mentorship programs, even sponsoring you, right, into
Mhm.
these new lanes is so critical. And I was thinking about some women who we've heard in the history books. They are being, I think, celebrated now more today because of the whole emphasis on STEM. But when you think about Hattie Lamore with the radio guidance system, Kathleen Johnson, as we know, she was, I guess, spotlighted in Hollywood under the Hidden Figures, and just her role in the human space exploration. Mae Jemison, the first Black astronaut. I mean, we've got some powerhouse women whose shoulders you're standing on, we're standing on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, let
Yeah.
me ask you this question. You mentioned about the equity. What do you believe can be done to help improve equity for women in technology?
Some things that I think that could be done is to begin to provide opportunities starting as early in elementary school, right? That begin to encourage, empower, shape a world of technology that fit the face of women, right? Women and girls, within our culture and within our environment, and also providing the tools or the things that's necessary, like when it comes to women, because we know women and men, our lives are totally different. Creating a space where we don't have to sacrifice so much. Women have to sacrifice so much when it comes to choosing between work, right, as well as their family, as well. And I remember just, several times. I remember one time distinguishedly that I had to make a decision, right? If it was going to be the career itself or the path that it was going on, or, kind of over the family. So I had to make a choice, like what is going to be more important to stay and improve, right? Who you are, right? In this environment, and sacrifice everything that you have, or make the decision, listen, there have to be some balance in life, and make a decision and a stand to say, hey, you know what, family might just be the more important thing. And so there's so many women that sacrifice their families, and then there's so many women that sacrifice their careers, because there is no balance is not the balance is not there, giving us the space that we need to be able to show up in the workplace and do what it is that we're called to do without having to go all the extra miles that our male counterparts don't have to do, right? But at the same time, being able to be that wife, that mother as well.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. And like you said, some of our challenges are very different, and we're having to make choices. I mean, there's some men that are making those hard choices too, but for the most part, um, that burden is experienced or felt by us as women. You know, choosing between my child or my job, or taking care of that senior parent and my job. It's a lot. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and I'll turn it over to Barbara.
Okay, and we're back. Before we get to the next question, just if you're just tuning in, we're here with Dr. Derashay, discussing basically about the technology era for women and how advanced tech and the gender equality with Dr. Derashay. So we're having a wonderful conversation with her. But before we go there, there's another statistic I wanted to bring up about going back to pay equality. And, you know, the quit rate for women in technology is 41%, which is twice of men. And that was interesting. I was like, wow. And then from that, the pay at an entry-level tech job, men are making 2-7% more than women across the board. So, you know, we bring these statistics up just to show that numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. And to really look at that and see what's going on. And just like Dr. Derashay said, we're talking about barriers. Well, that's one thing that women face. But as we said, we showed the women that have said, okay, those are barriers, but they're breaking through them. And Dr. Derashay is one of those women that are breaking through them too. So you're part of history, lady. So with that, just to let you know. So with that, how can technology companies and small business create inclusion culture within their company?
Well, I think that's something that they can do, or some things that tech companies can do and small businesses can do to create an exclusive culture within their company. I think they need to open up the communication barrier, right? They need to open up the communication barrier, begin to listen to the things or the challenges that women are dealing with in the work environment or within the culture. They need to, I think, as well, begin to look at neutral conversation or and things of that nature as well, so that women can feel a part of the culture or a part of the environment. Also, as they're listening to the challenges that women are having to navigate through the culture, I think they got to move beyond the listening aspect of that, right? Not only do they have to listen, but then they need to look at bringing forth appropriate actions or seeing or looking at things that they can begin to change within their culture. Every company is going to be, have some differences there within there, but however, as they listen, I think there should be a team that's developed, right, to begin to take actions on what it is that they've heard, the feedback, right, that they've got from the women within the environment, so that they can see how they can make this environment work for them, where they can feel a little bit more comfortable, where they can feel a little bit more clue, where they can take part ownership, right, within the company itself, as it begin to breed an environment that include absolutely everyone.
Yes. I love how you mentioned, because I always say awareness, communication is so important. And I'm glad you brought that up, because from that point, then, like you said, the action can happen. But if you're not aware of it, you're not really listening and talking to each other and knowing that there's challenges here of this culture changes, that it will bring you to a point, okay, now we need to take action with it. First awareness, now let's take some action and see what we can do. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's a very important part of it.
Yeah, that's huge. It's huge, because we not only want to be included, we not only want to have diversification in our employment, whether we're entrepreneurs or on the corporate side of the house, but it's so important to create that sense of belonging, right? That means you see me, you hear me, you get me. Yeah, that's big. I can't believe that we are. Can you believe we're almost out of time? This happened so fast. We blinked and time is almost over. But before we go, we're going to go to a quick commercial and come back. And Dr. Derashay is going to leave us with some parting words for those of you who may be women in technology and trying to develop your path. Maybe you're thinking of leaving technology. How can you take that experience and share it with someone else who's coming behind you? Or maybe you're a young girl thinking about technology as Derashay was a long time ago, maybe not so long ago, and looking at how can you be a part of the solution. So in a moment, you'll hear from Dr. Derashay. We are here closing out on the first episode of Advancing Tech and Gender Equity. I say equity with Dr. Derashay, and this is all a part of celebrating Women's International Day. Dr. Derashay, what lasting words would you like to leave with our listening audience?
The lasting words that I would like to leave with the listening audience is this. For women in technology, we need to make ourselves available for those that are coming behind us. We need to provide avenues that wasn't available to us. And since we have arrived in whatever our Pacific statuses may be, we definitely have a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information, and ways to navigate through systems that those that are behind us, those that are coming up, and those that are desiring to come up in the field of technology that they do not have. And I think that it is our responsibility to provide the next woman, or to provide her with the tools, with the information, with the wisdom, and with the knowledge that would encourage her, keep her inspired, and keep that desire on the inside of her to want to continue in technology or break into the field despite the obstacles that are the barriers that's there, right? By being that appropriate, or being available, or making yourself available as a mentor within the field or within the industry, it definitely would make a world of difference. You knew how it was navigating through a system by yourself, maybe feeling isolated or alone, and trying to figure out, and you may have bumped your heads and came into dead ends many given times. But now the things that you have learned and grown through is valuable tools and resources for those that are coming behind you that need that information, need that wealth of information that is there. So please consider becoming a mentor in that space for those that are coming behind you. Also, when it comes for our young girls, let's provide opportunities and spaces for them to be able to see our face, that they would know that, listen, yes, there are women in technology, and not only that there are women in technology, but there's women that's dominating the field despite the barriers that are there. Let them get the opportunity to see to see you, and also expose other women that are in technologies as well, to younger girls. Maybe you and a group of women in your corporation or company, or maybe some other women that you've connected with that's in technology. Maybe y'all can plan something at a local school, whether it's elementary, middle, high school, or university, to provide a space, provide an avenue where young girls can see women in technology. Show up at career day. That will make a world of difference. Write a book, whether it's an adolescent or a young adult book, that's inspired behind the field of technology. You just can't not even begin to understand just even the small, simple things that we do that could be a world of inspiration, and innovation that will stir up in the heart and the mind of a young girl or another woman that is in your sphere of influence. You can even start a tech mentor group. It is so many things that we can do. Listen, we're in a space of innovation, right? And innovation just can spark from absolutely anywhere. And it is the heart of technology. And so, with that being said, how about we take this space of technology and begin to innovate ways that we can bring other women up within this field, even starting at their youth.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Derashay, for joining us on this very special Women's History International Day, International Women's History Day. Let me flip that. And we are just so excited that it is all about embracing equity and advancing technology and gender equity. You can contact Dr. Derashay at withthestrategist.com. Again, Dr. Derashay at withthestrategist.com. Keep your eyes on all the amazing things that she's doing. She is everywhere. So we just wish you much success in the work that you're doing, not only here in the U.S., but look forward to hearing some good reports coming out of your first incubator in Kenya. And again, we want to say thank you so very much for joining us. And Barbara, thank you for joining us as well. And we just want to encourage all of you. Remember that together we can go so much farther. Find yourself a mentor. Find yourself someone who's seasoned to just open up your eyes of awareness to help you uncover those opportunities so that your vision can intersect with those doors and you will see the success that you want to see in your life. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us for another special edition of CY Live and our special guest, the amazing Dr. Derashay. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Wow, Barbara, it is so great to be on the Celebrate You live talk show, honoring and recognizing women during International Women's Day. And the theme, as we mentioned during our last interview, is all about hashtag embrace equity. And I'm just blown away at some of the powerhouse that we had on the stage and some who are coming, especially today. We have Achia Nila who will be joining us. And I'm going to bring her up right now so I can tell the audience a little bit about all the amazing things she's doing. Does that sound good to you?
Yes, it does.
All right. How's it going, Achia?
Yeah, everything going good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And I think I've mispronounced your last name. It's Nila, not Nia. Nila. So Achia, Nila.
Achia Nila.
Nila. I had it right. I got it right.
Yeah.
Okay. Achia Nila is joining us all the way from Bangladesh. Achila Nila is a powerhouse in her own right. She is the founder of Women Digital Empowerment Through Technology. She has served as a computer engineer for over 15 years in the IT arena. She has her own company where she actually has 15 women engineers working for her. And in the course of the last 9 years, she has trained over 18,700 girls. And I think that is just amazing because often when we're talking about technology or other lanes that were traditionally or are traditionally male dominated, it's very challenging because we don't see anyone who looks like us, who can relate to us. And so Achia is leading this effort. She has been, oh my gosh, I mean, her her pedigree, if you will, of professional expertise is just amazing. It's awe-inspiring, all that she has done. But I want to emphasize that not only does she have her own company, but she has worked with Dell, Hewlett Packard, Microsoft, Epson, Colgate, Sony, just to name a few. She's an international IT expert for the International Telecommunications Union, and she mentioned she is the very first person in Bangladesh selected to hold such a position. So, congratulations on all that you do, all that you continue to do, your vision for helping to empower women, and thank you for saying yes and coming to the Celebrate You platform.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm great, very glad to hear today.
Well, we're going to get right into some of the questions. One of the things that I want to ask you, Achia, is what or who inspired you into technology?
So actually, when I have given this answer, I always tell the one thing: I am inspired by me. So nobody inspire me because I born in a country here. I didn't see much role model here. So like I come in the engineering university, so I was only girl in the class, and when I come in the industry for job, I have seen I am only one girl in the programming sector. So I said actually I didn't get chance to follow any of role model in my life. So I am inspired by myself.
I love that, and there's nothing wrong with that being your own inspiration and motivation. And for those of you who are wondering, where is Bangladesh? Bangladesh is actually in Southeast Asia. It is to the west of India, I believe, and it has a female population of 82.2 million. But just like many countries, there is a male dominated society when it comes to the technology space and other industries. I found these stats and I was actually quite surprised, Achia, and I want to bounce this over to Barbara. According to the South Asian Network on Economic Modeling, they state that women in villages, there's 96% who have never used a computer, and in cities, 87%. They also said that of all the tech jobs, only 26% are held in, and they put, in quotes, tech related. So that covers a big umbrella of what could be tech related. I may be supporting it, but I may not actually be an engineer or a computer scientist in that particular field. So Barbara, I want to pass it over to you, and let's get a little bit deeper on this topic of equity.
Yes, awesome, Sheila. Thank you again. You're just a motivator. I'm just looking at you. So you're my mentor already in what you're doing. So bravo, bravo. So one of the other statistics that was very interesting is there another fact. The number of women who use the internet in Bangladesh is 13% in rural areas and 23% in urban areas. And those that use a computer are 4% in rural areas and 13% in the city. And I was like, wow, these numbers are low, but you're a part of the putting them together and saying, okay, this is what you need to know. You teach them, you're showing them, you're being a leader. So I really admire what you're doing, because I know those numbers are going to go up because of what you're doing in the field of technology. So
Yeah.
yeah, amazing that's what you're doing. So one question I had for you is, what do you perceive to be the greatest barriers facing women in the technology today?
Okay, so the thing is like what I have seen in my life and my community. So our problem start from the home. When a girl's born, so family treat them. She is a girl, and we need to give her a doll. And when a boy is born in that same family field, yeah, he is a boy, so we need to give it toy car. So this is the first differentiation start from the family. And when we going to school, family treat us like you are a girl, so you can do this, you cannot do this. And when a boy start growing up, supposed to go outside for playing. He is going to different places without any without facing any problem. But in South Asian countries, when a girl is born, they are always need to know you are a girl, you are a girl. So I feel family, from the surround relatives and circumstances, this is the problem start from over there. And when they come in the like schools, college and university, so teachers also tell them like why you do need to come in the higher study, because after a few years you got married, so someone help you in your life, so you don't need to earn money, you don't need to support your family, so why you need
Mm,
to come in the this industry. So actually this is the thing we are facing. But yeah, good news is like time has been changed and we are come in this industry, we are proving us. But when anyone come in this industry, sustainability is the problem here. Because when I started my journey as a computer engineer, so I got suggestion from my company, different companies, like you are a woman, so you can do a like design job, you can do a testing job. Why you want to be a programmer? So this is a problem what I have facing, but I need to prove myself everywhere. So I joined as a junior software engineer, and when I promoted as a CTO, in that time I feel no, I will start my own company where I will accommodate more and more girls. Because in my career I have seen very few number of women come in the tech industry. So because and those who are coming in the industry, they are not sustained because of like uh, attitude of the colleague, treating dominating by male colleagues. So these are the things always happening in the industry. So women are not able to take it always. So yeah, that is why I design my journey a different way.
amazing. I love, because you're basically being the face for them, to show them that, just because they say, as women, that you're supposed to just be doing a certain thing, in your life, and then, you get married and everything, like the regular routine. But you're like, no, that don't have to be the regular routine. You can be a programmer. You can get in technology. You can do what you
Yeah,
do. So I'm loving that you're taking that barrier and you're slicing it down. You're just like pushing it and saying, no, that don't have to happen to you, even being in Bangladesh and being in this particular country. So again, I give you all honor to that. Lawana, did you want
thank
to
you
take?
so much.
Yeah, just as I was listening to you, Achia, it's a little sad and troubling that here we are in 2023, and many countries, including Bangladesh, are facing this stereotypical um, role of what women should do, or the limits that are placed in your educational choices. Even I know your child marriages are significantly higher than in other cultures. And you said something that was really profound, and you said starts in the home. Those initial biases
Yeah,
start in the home, and it's really hard to shift that, because now that's your family context, right? Your primary socialization, and now you have a culture that you sit in that says this is okay. but yet you're trying to defy those odds. You're being a force of resistance to say we deserve that same opportunity. For those of you who are joining us, we are here with Achia and Nila, and we are talking about embracing equity as it relates to advancing technology and gender equity. And I just want to define for those of you that are joining midpoint in the show or perhaps looking at the replay, what do we mean by equity? Very simple example, equity versus equality. Equality means I'm giving everyone shoes. Everyone has shoes. Equity means everyone has the right shoes for them, the right shoes to fit for them. So when we have equity, that's the gateway to ultimately achieving equality. Achia, do you want to say anything to that?
So yeah, for me actually, like I don't want to make it like any dividation, so equality, because actually the thing is what we are trying to do. Uh, we want to do something for the nation, for the society, and the male character they also doing the same. So why these divided happening till now? Like we have passed a long year, so now we are living in a digital world, in a modern world, but still why we are dominating like this way? You are women, you need to do this or do that. I think nowadays it should not be come in front of everyone. Why still we are fighting for our right, but why we will do that? But when a man born, they don't need to do that. So I think we should focus on actually the thing is what we want to do. We can do it like as a human, not a female, not a male. So we are a human being and we have all the right. What we can do, we have all the right. And some people think like women are not able to do this, they are not able to do that. But I think why I need to able to complete everything. I can be expert on any specific thing. Why I need to do everything? Because a man also can't do everything. They have also limitations. So why you think about she is a female? She need to do. She will able to do this or she will not able to do this. So I think nowadays we don't need to think about this. What I am able to do, I can do it perfectly, and that's the equality.
I love that.
Wonderful.
We're going to take a quick break and we will be right back. We are back in celebration of International Women's Day. The theme this year is embracing equity, and we are having a conversation about advancing technology and gender equity with Achia Nila. I am Luana Bradford here with my business partner and co-founder of Celebrate You, Barbara Beckley. And Achia, here's a question for you. What, in your opinion, do you think can be done right now to help move the needle, create gender equity in technology?
So I have taken my own initiative. So like people like you guys, you have if you are taking your own initiative, I think we are able to overcome this problem. So the thing is like when I have seen there is our struggle. So people are not taking us seriously. People think we are not able to do coding. We are not able to do harder things or networking things. We are not able to do proper technical things. So but that is not right. So when I started my journey, so I start my company like with all women engineers, and they are working for the multinational companies like international clients, and they are serving them, and we are sustained. Like I have passed my 10 years. So if every women take this type of initiative, so that we can actually, the thing is, main thing is like, we need to prove us always. So if I prove, and some of the women, they also taking this type of initiative, I think we can prove everyone. But yeah, I don't like to prove all the time. But the thing is, that's a problem in our gender. We are women and we need to prove ourselves everywhere. So yeah, and another thing is, for the parent, I always have a advice or suggestion for the parents. Please take your daughter as a human, not is she is my female daughter or male daughter, male son. Don't think like this. Give her the proper education, and give her choose her own choice what she want to do in her life. Like, if she want to be a technologist, she can do that. If she want to be a doctor, or she can be a writer or other things, just support her to achieve her goal. So yeah, I think that is the way we can achieve. And nowadays, if you think about the Google, Meta, and Dell, other biggest companies, you will see the women are playing very vital role. And if you think about our computer science and engineering, so first programmer is a female. So there are lots of good example in our community, in women community. So we just showcase that thing properly. So if anybody can, I believe everybody can. And people like me, I'm living in a developing country, and I am trying to change the society with
Mm.
my own creativity, with my own innovation. So I think you are from different countries like USA, America, Europe, different countries. So you have lots of opportunity to change the society. So if we work together, I think it's not a problem to reach our goal, bringing more women in technology.
I love what you said, Achia, about it's basically, even though you said we have to prove ourselves, but in proving ourselves, that elevates the story. It magnifies the voice. It says, I want you to see me. I'm not going to be sidelined. And I think that's so important that those of us that are helping to advance awareness and change the narrative, that we want to keep telling those stories and telling those stories so that we become more and more present, not only at the table, but those decision makers when it comes to hiring and selecting these young individuals, or developing, as you are, these pipeline programs that help to guide women and young girls as they navigate into this field. So thank you so very much, Barbara.
Yes. Yes, thank you for that. Achia, I want to ask another question. When it comes to, how can like tech companies and small businesses like yourself create an inclusion, excuse me, culture within that realm?
Okay, so what I'm trying to do, like, I have developing a technical curriculum for the students, for the women. Why I have taking this initiative? Because the inclusion. So, like, when I am thinking about women, like, there are some women, they are everybody is not living in the urban area. So they are living in the rural area or peri-urban area. So there are different places, and the support we are getting from those who are living in urban area, the rural women, they are not getting the same support.
Mm.
So without all the women, how can we think about the inclusions? So we need to accommodate each and every woman. We need to accommodate each and every woman in the digital economy. We need to include them. We need to include them in our journey. So I decide I will do two things. One is I will develop some technologists, and I will develop some tech enable. So like those who are good in education, good in English, they will be like technologists. They can do the coding, hardware things, AI, blockchain, the high tech technical things, and they will develop the software like tech product. And those who are a bit less educated and non-educated, they will be good user.
Mm.
So that is the way I design the inclusion. So the thing is, everybody will be under the technology umbrella. One group is will be the technologist, and one group will be the good tech user, because that is also important. If they anybody are not able to use properly, so she will not actually able to run the r- long race. So everybody need to come in the tech industry and understand the technology. So yeah, so this is the way I am design my project. And another thing is I am trying to do, like I am developing a ecosystem, tech women friendly ecosystem in Bangladesh. So we teach, so we what we said, we are empowering women through technology and make them financial empowered through technology. Because if I always give them that education, they will not take it very for the long time actually. So like they will come for some times and they will not stay in this industry. But if you think about the women empowerment, I believe financial independence is the key point of women independent. So if you give them the money, so they will stay in this industry. So this is the way I am actually trying to make the inclusion, make the ecosystem. So yeah, I am working like this way. So if I invite, maybe everybody will join, but I need to keep them. So I am ensuring you will able to earn from it.
I love that. I love how you're the mentor to them and making sure that even though you're teaching them and showing them the technology part of it and how important it is and giving them the chance, you're also saying, okay, you want to make it their own too. I mean, if they're in the tech part and they're the user part, wherever what they want, you want to make sure that they stick because it's something that they like to do within the technology
Yes.
era. So I love how you're mentoring them and saying, look, I'm teaching you, but also, I want you to feel comfortable in what you're doing. So amazing. Luana?
Yes, yes. We're going to take another break and then come back with Achia and Nila for some closing remarks to our listening audience when it comes to embracing equity.
I've been searching for a gold mine, been digging for a long time, looking for a diamond of the rarest kind. Then one day I found a perfect treasure, a worth of impossible measure. I started to pray, then I heard you say you would forever be mine. I struck love. Now that I have found you, I struck love.
I'm Luana Bradford here with my co-founder Barbara Beckley, co-founders of the Celebrate You Embracing Her wellness movement. And it's all about celebrating and elevating women to be the best and highest version of themselves, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially. And we are here with Achia Nila, and she's sharing her story about her passion in technology and the work that she's doing to help advance and elevate women, not only in her community, but around the world. She is truly a cutting edge pioneer in helping to bring us to the table, create this type of discourse that we're having right here to help promote awareness so that collectively we can come together to support and elevate and create a better generation for tomorrow. So, Achia, we are almost out of time, and I want to turn it over to you. And I'd like you to speak to our audience or to young girls out there that are possibly considering technology. What lasting words would you like to say to them?
So, for the young generation, I always try to actually bring everybody in the technology, because we are living in a world where the world is driven by the technology. So, if you are not in if you are not able to learn the technology, so you are not able to sustain. So you, if you want to sustain in this world, you need to learn the technology. So how, maybe you feel afraid, how I can be a good technologist or how I can learn it. It's very easy. It's very simple. See, I am living in a third world country. Country name is Bangladesh, and it's only 50 years country. So I am come from that country, and I am leading the different multinational companies, and also I am working in a ITU, Meta, sometimes working as a consultant in Google. So see, I if I can make it, so everybody can eat. And what you need to do, like focus on one thing. I always told my mentees, so do one thing in your life, like believe three word. One is focus, another one is action, another one is target. So just uh, think about target, what you achieve in your life, so target on that. Like I want to be seeing myself in this level, so just focus on that. Yes, I want to be that. I want to be a like scientist, I want to be a doctor or engineer or whatever you want. Just take the take the target and focus on that, and after that take some action, like how you achieve your goal. So if you want to be a scientist, if you want to be a tech entrepreneur like me, or like other two moderators, so like think like that way. So I want to be this, and I for this I need to do this is your action plan. So work on it and take the initiative. So like first believe on yourself, yes I can do it, and after that take this initiative, then you will be a superstar. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love that. Focus, action, target. Focus, action, target. Thank you so very much, Achia Nila, for joining us all the way from Bangladesh. We look forward to connecting with you more in the future, and we hope those of you are enjoying our very special International Women's Day show on embracing equity. And we're focusing on advancing technology and gender equity. And we will see you back momentarily with our third and final guest. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, take care.
Wow, Barbara, this has been amazing. I mean, we've had individuals from the UK, Bangladesh, talking about work that's happening in Africa, and now the UK is going to be in the house. How exciting is that?
We are so global. I'm loving it, and just loving to get the background and of these ladies. It's just amazing, amazing.
Yes. And to those of you that may be catching part three, I want to formally introduce myself. I am Luana Bradford, and I am the co-founder of Celebrate You, Embracing Her Wellness, a community that is designed to elevate and empower women mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially, because it does take money to shift, to move the needle, and make the impact and influence that we want around the world. And I have my amazing co-founder here, Miss Barbara Beckley.
Yes, and I'm here, and also a purpose and visibility strategist. But with this particular community, me and my partner here in Queen, Luana Bradford, we come and bring these power pack women, and it's just going to be amazing with our wonderful guest that's coming from UK today.
Welcome, welcome, Gail. How is it going?
Hey, great. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I love the cutaway. I'm like, God, how did you do that? That looked amazing.
Thank you. Well, we are here on our signature show, Celebrate You Live, and we have a lot of fun and insightful conversation, but Barbara and I felt it was very important to do a special around International Women's Day, and the focus is on the international theme, hashtag embrace equity. And I want to tell the audience a little bit about you, Gail, if I may.
Of course.
Well, Gail is a leadership coach. She helps individuals to live with their life with confidence in order to make the impact that they want in the world. She works with C-suite leaders all the way to mid-managers, small business owners. She's just touching lives around the world. But the other thing, the reason why she's here is her background in the field of technology, where we know we still do not have the numbers and representation that we need around the world. But Gail has been with companies such as Adobe, GE, Fujitsu, and she's collaborated extensively with global leadership teams. Her aim is to help people find their North Star. I love that, because often we're trying to seek and find that purpose, but she helps them to refine that and live truthfully in it and authentically. And her goal, her company, rewind, she started a company about 6 years ago called Core Transformation. And I'm certain we're going to get a little bit into that. Gail, when I was doing a little bit of research, I knew the numbers were low when it came to women's representation in technology. I didn't realize how low they were. And with the UK, for example, with 9% of UK women, 9% of all workforce in the UK in technology, only 26% of those are women. So, we have some catching up to do, but it's conversations such as this that helps to raise awareness and shift the narrative. So not only do we have seats at the table, but those of us that are in positions of influence, such as yourself, can help guide individuals in their respective path in the technology industry. And I want to get to the very first question. What or who inspired you to go down the technology lane?
Well, it's such an interesting question for me, because I first got into tech many, many, many years ago. So I think my first job after graduating, I worked in logistics actually when I first graduated, but it was nothing to do with my degree. I did that for a little while, and then I had the opportunity to move. So I'm from Scotland. So in case you can't tell from my accent, I'm from Scotland. And I had the opportunity to work in England for a while. And after I'd done that, I really wanted to move back home to Scotland. And so I was looking for a new role, a new job. And I just happened to come across a role that was in a small tech startup company in Edinburgh. And it was a hardware company. And we're talking about early 90s. So, I'm going to be 52 this year. So when I was first starting, that's quite a long time ago. And the tech industry as it is today, it was really just starting. When I was in my 20s, it certainly wasn't anywhere near like it is now. And so I didn't really aspire to work in technology. I kind of fell into it. My desire was to move back to Scotland. This role came up, and I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. So I'm going to go for that. I got the job, and then that was really my first taste of working in technology. And from there, I always seemed to move to other tech companies. And I wouldn't say it was my goal to work for a tech company, but those are the roles that came up that interested me, caught my attention, and seemed to come up for me. So I pursued that. But the pursuit was really about career advancement, career progression, more money. I followed the money a bit, I have to say. And my route happened to be in tech, but I don't think I ever really set out to work in tech specifically, especially given that, when I started, it was all, the tech thing, it wasn't what it is now.
I love that. And so often, Gail, and I'm certain when you're dealing with your clients, we may have certain skills or affinities for certain things, but it may not have been our actual map for ourselves, right? We just sort of fell into it. And I have a similar story. I started with the Information Systems Command. So I was doing statistical modeling for new technology coming in. So I was developing queuing methods.
Wow.
And so you and I are in that same age generation. And again, it was just something that I fell into. But through that, I was able to hone, because I'm an analyst at heart. Okay. And I found my passion in being an analyst, and then just sort of navigating both in and out of the financial space. So I truly appreciate what you were saying about starting your career. It's okay to pursue the money. There's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with that. I think we've all been there.
Did I say that the M word out loud? Yeah, no, but I did. I was like, well, like it's time to move, and the best way to earn more money is to move. You can always negotiate far more easily when you're moving organization than you can internally. It's not to say that you can't negotiate internally, but I think you have more negotiating power when you're moving into a new organization. I certainly find that anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Barbara, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yes, yeah, that I love how what you said, Gail, about you just kept moving and saying, hey, this looks like my niche. So sometimes that happens. Now within that, I was going to ask you, what kind of like perceiving of the great barriers that you face, because a lot of times all of us, as women and just in general, we face some barriers going through the cycle, especially in the different the different ways of where we're working. So for you, for technology, what kind of barriers is women are facing in the technology world?
Yeah, I work predominantly with women, not all from technology, but I work with a lot of female leaders. And I think the barriers that we see in technology are similar to the barriers that we see in the workplace in general. Technology in particular, I think, is still very male dominated. I mean, you quoted some of the stats there. Over the time that I've been in tech, which is a long time, those numbers haven't moved significantly. They've maybe moved a little bit. And I think it does vary by organization. But there's certainly, you're kind of, you're looking at the 80-20 rule really for women in tech. So I think because it is male dominated, it's very difficult, I think, to see other women in roles that you may aspire to do yourself. And I think the phrase that always comes to mind for me is you can't be what you can't see. So if you don't see other women in senior roles or in tech in general, then it's difficult to see yourself there. And I think particularly when you are looking at organizations, potentially interviewing with organizations, when you're doing your research in advance of that, if you're not seeing an environment that looks conducive to women, welcoming to women, where there are lots of other women there, I think right from the beginning, that can be a little off-putting. And then that's just about getting in the door. But then once you're in the door, it's, well, then how do you advance and how do you progress once you're there? And again, if there aren't a lot of female role models moving through, that can be challenging. I mean, when I worked for Adobe, I was a director, but I was one of very few female directors at Adobe. I can't remember what the stats were, but I know I was definitely in the minority. And so that can be really, really challenging. I think the other thing for women is when, if women are going to have kids, I don't have kids of my own, I have a stepson, but when women have kids, I know from speaking to other women who have been in this situation, coming back into the workplace, returning to the workplace, that can be incredibly difficult. And I think that organizations could do a lot more to support women who are returning. So women returning to the workplace, I think we could do better. And the other thing relating to that, I think childcare, if the provision of childcare could be more accessible and also easier to have, so for example, organizations that offer childcare, on site, that makes it so much easier, particularly for women, to continue to be part of the workplace if things like that are made easy for them. So I think it's about understanding what the unique challenges are that women face and thinking about how we can make those easier for women to participate. I think that would help a lot. So I think it's about, seeing role models, but then once you're there, how do we make that easy?
Definitely. And I love how you said, because if we don't see each other there, it's kind of like, okay, we're the one. And I know you've been the one, and LaWan and myself been the one where sometimes we have to show up and be that leader to say, hey, we're in this industry here and we're moving forward. We want to show other women that they can do it too. And I like that you brought up the childcare too, because I know within my own organization that I work at, they don't have one on campus, but they do have one really close. And they did that on purpose. And they basically came together and teamed up with a daycare and said, we have employees, especially for women and their children. Can they, have their children here and just be around the corner? So it's good that some corporations are looking at that for women.
Yeah, I think we could do a lot more on that. And I certainly in the UK, I don't see that a lot. Obviously there's childcare available, but I don't see it a lot in terms of being co-located with where you work. And I just think that would just make it easier.
Yeah. And it's a slow progression, like you said. But I mean, I'm glad I'm seeing some light in it, like you said. But those kind of barriers, it's still dealing with women. We still have to deal with that and move forward and still say, okay, we still, have to be the leaders again ourselves and show that we can do that. Luana, you had any?
I love that. And it's interesting, as you said, that crosses all industries as far as access to childcare that's in proximity to where you work. And we see how the pandemic really had an adverse impact on women. I mean, while we were making a lot of strides, many women had to come off the job, right, to take care of their children, or they found themselves sandwiched between taking care of their children, taking care of aging parents. And so the strides that we've made over the last 20 years, we kind of took a few steps back, but we have our nose to the grindstone saying, okay, we are going to regain the ground that we once had. But again, it's so important. Like you said, I don't want to quote this, you said, if you can't be what you can't see. Yeah. And I hear that a lot, right?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to be what you can't see. We like to see other people doing things that we can then, aspire for ourselves. And, because sometimes it's hard to forge a new path. And so, if you can follow a path that someone else has already, carved out, that just makes it easier. It just makes it easier to have a role model there that you can see. And I actually think, you talk about the pandemic, I think there are a couple of different perspectives on the pandemic for me, because I think one perspective is, yes, that was more challenging for women because with schools being closed, women still tended to be that primary person that was then looking after kids, trying to hold down a job at the same time. And so I think that is something that definitely had a big impact. On the flip side of that, I was reading something just over the weekend about tech companies in particular who are starting, some of them, not all of them, but some companies are starting to reverse the scenario that we had during the pandemic, where there was a lot of flexibility. Obviously, everybody was working from home, and they're starting to turn the table on that and actually having people come back into the workplace. And in some ways, I think for women, the flexibility about being able to work from home, being able to work remotely, being able to work at times and hours that fit you and fit around your family, in some ways that's helpful for women. I think the issue for women during the pandemic was everything kind of came at once. So we were working from home, the kids weren't going to school, there was no childcare, it was just, the perfect storm. But I think coming out of the pandemic, the thing that we learned was we can all work remotely, we can all work from home. And there's actually a lot of benefit for women in being able to do that. And so I have a little bit of a concern, just reading what I read over the weekend with some tech companies, just, kind of turning the table on that again and asking people to be in the office more than where we were during the pandemic. I think we'll always have a hybrid now. I don't think we'll ever go back to the way it was pre-pandemic. I just have a question mark around, asking people to come back to the office and being, more office-based rather than remote. I wonder actually if that is a hindrance to women than maintaining that.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and it is a point of concern for a lot of women. And like you said, when you have the flexibility, then you're able to create this work-life balance, show up, still contribute, and be there for your family. But if you're now being mandated to come into the office, I believe, based on what you said, that's going to add to the attrition rate that we're already experiencing with women in technology. Women tend to leave at a 50% higher rate than men. Yeah. So, how do we retain the talent, the skills, while still attracting? So I think that was a really good point. I want to ask you another question about gender equity, not equality, equity. What can be done, in your opinion, in your experience, that can help to create a greater sense of gender equity in technology?
I think it depends what you mean by equity, because I think, there are a number of different ways to think about equity. But I think for me, when I think about equity, it's about having equal opportunity and for there being no bias for women, and for women to have the same opportunities as men do. And that can be in terms of the sorts of roles that they're able to do, but also financially, and making sure that women, are having the same financial compensation as men do. So I think for me, I've seen some organizations do this really successfully, and I think it's about right from the very beginning. So when we're recruiting into roles, really thinking about how can we be unbiased and neutral in the way that we present the positions that we're hiring for, and in the way that we go about attracting people to come and work for us. I've seen organizations do, I'm probably calling it the wrong thing. I'm going to call it blind interviewing, and I'm sure it's called something else, but essentially making sure that, when you're screening for candidates coming in, you don't know what gender they are. You're looking at them based on their skill set, not if they're male or female. And I think that works really well. Really thinking about how job descriptions are worded and taking any gender bias out of that. Don't think it's easy to do, but I think it's possible. And I think creating inviting environments for women to come into as well. And again, showcasing what it's like on the inside. So for women coming in, having them see other women in the workplace, having them meet other women in the workplace, having them get to know other women in the workplace before they join, so that they feel like they're going to be entering an organization where they can fit and where they would feel comfortable and at home. And I think for tech companies in particular that are very male dominated, the more they can showcase that, there is a place for women here. There are women here already. Here's a network that you could join potentially if you came in. So I think a lot of it is about really thinking about, what do women need in the workplace, and showcasing that right from the start, so that as they're interviewing, they can see a place for themselves in the workplace.
I like what you just said, and you mentioned a couple things, but having, again, that network, that conversation, that community, that sort of pipelines that young girl or woman transitioning to careers before she even gets into the space, right? To understand what it's all about, what the expectation is, to realize that she's not alone, that we are looking to enhance diversity and equity, inclusion, but also that sense of belonging. I really leaned into that when you said that, and that is important, that wherever we show up, we want to feel that we belong there, right?
Yeah, and I think we have to make that real, because, diversity and inclusion, I mean, everywhere you go, people are talking about diversity and inclusion. If you're not talking about that, there's something wrong. But I think we need to make sure that's not a tick box exercise, and that there's actually, we're authentic about what that really means and what it looks like, and how we go about living that, living and breathing diversity and inclusion, versus having some stats around it. Because it's not about stats, it's not about numbers, it's about making it real. And I think make that real, make that meaningful. And then when we do that, make sure we're showcasing that.
Yes.
I love that. We're going to do a cutaway, and then Barbara, I'll turn it over to you.
I've been searching for a gold mine, been digging for a long time, looking for a diamond of the rarest kind. Then one day I found a perfect treasure, a worth of impossible measure. I started to pray, then I heard you say you would forever be mine. I struck love, now that I have found you, I struck love.
Wow. So we are back with the wonderful Gail Logan. And just one thing I want to mention before I get to this next question for you. I love how you said before we went to break that you said just don't let it be a checkbox that, oh, we did, we did this part of diversity and everything, and just move on. This is not just a fad. This is something that has to be breathed into the companies and always being centered in that. So I love how you said that. I was like, yes. So with that, kind of still getting a little bit into what you were talking about, Gail. But my question is, how can tech companies and small business create an exclusive culture within, in the company? That's another thing that I know a lot of companies are working with.
Yeah. So I'm not sure I have a really good answer for this, but the thing that I think is important for this is, so rather than create what you think women want, which is what I think a lot of companies do, I ask women what they want. What would make it easier? Because often we tend to go into solution mode without just asking, like getting that insight. What would make it easier for you? So that my first thing is speak to women, talk to women, and ask them what it is that they need, because it actually might be something that you've not even thought about, or might be easier than you're thinking. So I think that would be the first thing for me. And then there's some obvious things like, there are some biases out there culturally that I think could change. I'm not sure how easy it is for this to happen, but obvious things like locker room humor that women find difficult to participate in. That kind of stuff that goes in the office sometimes is really difficult for women to get involved in. Don't take it onto the golf course. I mean, I am actually a golfer. I love playing golf, but a lot of business happens on the golf course. Like, well, don't take it onto the golf course. Keep it into the office. Make it easy for women to participate. And I think gender bias training goes a long way as well, because we all have biases. Like, I have biases, you both have biases, we all have biases. But I think the more aware we are of our biases, the more we can notice them, the more that we can be aware of them, the more we can take action to address that. So I think that is really important. And I think creating networks inside organizations for women, I think it's important, because I think women, not all women, but I think a lot of times for women, having other women to talk to is something that I think a lot of women appreciate, perhaps more so than men. So just having that, that network, a group of women that they can chat to, talk to, they can discuss the challenges that they're facing, women. So I think, creating some kind of professional network for women inside organizations is really helpful. Mentoring, sponsorship, all of that. I mean, these aren't things that are specific to women, but they will help women as well. So yeah, anything that they can do inside organizations where women feel involved, that they can participate, that they can contribute, I think is going to make a difference.
Yes.
But first and foremost, just ask, what would make it easier for you to come and work here? What would a workplace that you would want to come and work in, what would that look like? Just ask the question.
I love, Gail, how you said that, because I always wonder why, especially in the corporate world, that they always try to, like you said, try to solve the problem, but they don't ask the person that's having the problem the question. They go all around that.
Yeah, just ask the question. What would make it easier for you to come and work for us? What would the best workplace ever from a women's perspective? What would that look like? Just ask the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I love that. We are almost at the end of our session, and I want to turn it over to you, Gail. This has been rich, and I hope very rewarding and inspiring for women and men who are looking at this episode, especially our young women who are thinking about, is technology for me, or any of the STEM lanes work. And I'd like you to speak to that young woman or young girl specifically. What lasting words would you like to leave with her?
So I think if you're a young woman, a young girl, or if you have young women or young girls that you know and that you have influence over, the first thing that I would say is just go for it. Just go for it. We can overcome barriers if we just go for it. The other thing that I would say is, and now I'm all about women having equal opportunity, women having equal access to education, doing STEM subjects at school and all of that. But the one thing that I would say is I am the least technical person on the planet. Like I am not technical at all, but I had a highly rewarding and enjoyable career in tech. So I think the other thing that I would say is to work in tech, you don't have to have done a STEM subject at school or at university, because there are careers in tech without being technical, and I am the shining example of that. I had a very rewarding career in tech that I loved, and without being technical, there are other roles in tech organizations. So it doesn't always have to be about, well, you can only get into tech if you've done STEM. You can get into tech and do. There's loads of roles in tech where you don't need to have a STEM background to be able to work in tech. So that's the other thing I would say.
I love that, and that was very profound. So to those of you that are listening, lean into that, because we're talking about an industry and the representation of women in this industry. And in order for organizations to exist and flourish, it requires different roles, right? There's so many out there. And I love what you said. You fell into it. You didn't come from a STEM background, but you worked and supported some of the biggest tech companies out there. So there are so many opportunities that we can find ourselves exploring. And I just want to say thank you so very much, Gail, for joining us. This is Gail Logan with her company, Core Transformation.
That's right.
Out of the UK. And Barbara, I will let you close us out as we remember to #embrace equity. Barbara.
Yes. Thank you again, everybody. And like we close out, we always do. We always basically, first of all, thank you, Gail Logan, for coming on again. This was amazing, and you're amazing. And thank you for being a world changer in the technology in the world. So we're going to close out. We always put our hearts up, and we're going to say, there we go. Love yourself and have that heart pumping. And then embrace yourself.
Oh,
yes. And whatever you do, celebrate you. Thank you.
Celebrate you. Bye, everyone. Happy International Women's Day.
I've been searching for a gold mine, Been digging for a long time, looking for a diamond of the rarest kind. Then one day I found a perfect treasure, a worth of impossible measure. I started to pray, then I heard you say you would forever be mine. I struck love. Now that I have found you, I struck love.